What's up everyone, welcome back to the 4th episode of 5 Star Talk podcast with JB and Millie.
Hey guys!
Now we've got a very special guest once again this week, and that's Poké Crossing, so if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Charlotte from Poké Crossing. I'm really excited to be here today, it should be good.
Oh no, we're really excited to have you on because we really do appreciate how we were kind of introduced to you, you know. I think you were one of the first people that reached out to us in our comment section, and you had a lot of nice things to say, and then from there we kind of checked out your channel and it's been going good ever since, really.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a nice little community kind of with the Animal Crossing YouTubers, and I think it's all about supporting each other and stuff, so I always try and check in with everyone.
Yeah, it is really kind, because recently we had the Nintendo Guru on the last episode, and a big topic that we were talking about was the community. And I think in terms of starting off with, I do think that Animal Crossing is kind of a game like no other, where you can really build something with people.
Yeah, for sure. Bobby's great as well. Bobby's awesome. He's supported so many smaller creators. He invited me onto the Breaking Bells, and my channel got a massive boost off being on there, and it's so cool to see bigger YouTubers supporting smaller YouTubers, and like I said, we're all just getting involved with each other, getting support, and then we can play and build things together, and the community is so creative now. We're all I feel we're vibing off each other, and we're seeing each other's stuff, and then we're going to the next level with it, and I just love it.
See, JB's always said that this is a game kind of like no other, in that normally when you play online with your friends, it's games where you're battling people or something, whereas this one's you're wanting to give each other DIYs and help each other get as far as you can, so it really does bring a nice element in by doing that.
Yeah, for sure, it's so good. People are so helpful, right? Literally, you want one thing and you've got about 20 people trying to offer you it. It's so nice.
It is so good, especially when you do get started, and I think it's very different for creators, because of course, we've got to the stage now where we've built up quite a good, group of friends from the game, where Millie's working on a Hunger Games island right now, and all we need to do is, say, okay, so we're looking for this, does anyone have this? And we've got quite a few people that, reply within minutes. It's really cool.
Yes, it is. It's so good. I know, to start with as well, because I got the fruits and stuff really early, so whenever I see someone new, I'm always what do you need? Do you need fruits? What can I help you with? Because I just think, a lot of people helped me when I started out, so now I'm kind of pretty set. I like to try and pay that forwards as well.
Yeah, so when did you kind of start your channel? Because obviously we've looked back, and we know that you've been making Animal Crossing content for about 3-4 months now, or something like that. So we were kind of curious to know if you'd done something before then, or if you just started because of Animal Crossing.
So I initially started my channel back in January because I wanted to start a channel. So my fiance bought me a capture card and the headphones and everything like that for Christmas. So I had planned to start it, and it kind of came off the back of playing, because I kind of started playing a lot more on my Switch when Pokémon Sword and Shield got released. So it came off the back of that, but then through my work I spend quite a lot of time in Europe in the winter, because I teach skiing and snowboarding. So for the whole of January I was pretty much in France, so I didn't do anything. And then as Animal Crossing came out, I was just obsessed, and obviously with the situation with the pandemic, obviously it was just gave me so much free time. I'm if I don't do it now, I am never gonna do this. So I kind of did it, I think about end of April is when I started uploading videos. So yeah, it's been pretty good, to be fair. I spent a bit of time back and forth, but I'm pretty committed to it now.
Yeah, no, we noticed that just recently you put a video out on your channel where you've kind of revamped your whole setup a bit. That is really impressive how you can track how your content's growing and evolving. It's really good.
Oh, thanks, yeah. I was using a laptop before, so it was an absolute nightmare to try and get the video footage, and instead of because the more I did it, the more I've kind of really enjoyed it. And when I first started out, I was pretty confident nobody was going to watch my stuff. I was no one's going to watch me play Animal Crossing. And then as my channel's grown and I've obviously started getting a bit of community and I've met other YouTubers and started kind of getting involved with other content creators, I thought, you know, I love doing this and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon, so I thought it's time to invest, time to up my game a little bit and just make the kind of background processes easier for me and hopefully the quality better for everybody else. So yeah, it's good, it's good fun.
I mean, obviously we know firsthand that, and making Animal Crossing content is so good. Like, how have you found, like, what do you think is the best type of Animal Crossing content to do to gain traction? Because I think for us, the reason why, even though we're quite a small channel at the moment, we've been able to build such, you know, a good, like, you know, group of friends, is the fact that we did so many island tours that, of course, for every island tour, there's a creator behind it, there's, you know, 2 or 3 mutual friends that they've had, and so it's come up with quite a good network. Like, where would you say you found the most, you know, following from?
For me, I think it's the build videos, like the speed builds. They've, like, for me, done really well. Island tours as well have done really good, and I kind of like the vibe you guys go with, where you kind of chat and get more involved with the people behind it as well. But yeah, for me, it's definitely been the speed builds, and I'm just like kind of creating and building stuff, and I think they got a lot of traction. And then me and KO from Console KO and like Poké Crossing, we've kind of started to do, like, it's called Designcore, and we're starting to do more of the inside stuff now, like in our houses, and people are going like crazy for that. They love seeing kind of us all take one theme and then kind of give our individual styles to those themes and like the different ideas we come up with. They've kind of picked up loads of traction for us, and obviously through that you meet people and collect items and support each other in that way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is fantastic, and it's really, like, kind of cool to see how different people have found their own kind of, not rise to success as such, but like a rise, you know, they've kind of found their own niche. Like, because even with, like, the areas where there has been some crossover, like, I think it was only yesterday, from recording, that you put out this really, really cool island tour. It was, like, where, like, it was designed to be, like, the moon, and I thought that was just so cool.
Yeah, that was next level, and I think that's really good with, like, the dream suites now in the game, because, like, I would have never found that island if, you know, through the creator. I don't think our paths would ever have crossed, but through the dream suites, I was just like, wow, like, it just gives islands so much more kind of traction, and so many more people get to see it. Yeah, it's great, so good.
Yeah, I think it was awesome how they did that. Like, because I remember watching it and I was like, this is really, really good. Like, it was awesome, and I do like the Dream Suite really, because I had some negative views on it when I first heard about it. I was a bit worried that it was gonna spell like the end of personalized tour videos, but really I can see the merit in it now. Like, I think it is awesome. I'm just curious to know if there are ways that it could be improved. I'm not really sure how that would work.
For me, like, and I think we'll kind of probably touch more on this as we go through, but I would like, for the Dream Suites, I'd like to see, you know, like when you are searching now for design codes and you can actually search by like theme or topic or by a word. Yeah. I'd like to see something like that for Dream Suites, and I think I'd like to see like a feature where, like, when you upload your Dream Suite, you can like tag it with keywords.
Yeah,
so that
almost like with Mario Maker, when you upload a course there, it can go, you know, challenging boss battle. You could almost have like a cottage core option or kid core option. That's a really good idea. Like a really, really good idea.
Because then obviously you could find whatever you wanted, and it would obviously help then to eliminate people stumbling upon islands that they don't want to be on. So that could always help with that.
You see, that's true. But then again, I guess if there's an option where you can just navigate through islands easier without the use of that long code, I'd almost be scared that that would add more to the validity of, like, which is a topic that I was going to touch on a bit later, but, like, you know, of the Halloween update maybe leading to a revival in horror islands, and maybe they could get reported. Like, if there is like a horror core or horror island option that you don't need that long digit coding, could they be easier for kids to stumble upon?
so it's a kind of like a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because my understanding is the only reason that these islands potentially getting reported is because people are getting like upset, or that it's scaring them, and I totally understand that, and especially when we've got such a such a big community of like minors playing the game as well, so it is really important. But I think on the flip side, that tagging feature, it should be specifically tagged as like horror, or 18 plus, or scary, or something like that, and so that way there should really then be no grounds for it to be reported, unless obviously it's then starting to get really bad. But for the most part, that should be enough for people to know that it's going to be a horror island. So if that's going to be something that scares them, or they're going to feel uncomfortable with, then maybe not to visit that one.
I suppose that would be a safer way than doing kind of like a dream code generator, because if you go on the internet, you can just get a generator and that could take you anywhere. So in a way it would be like more or less more secure, in that you would be finding an appropriate island because you'd have chosen the kind of style of the island.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like a good filter.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'd hope it would be used for, rather than kind of like alright, let's hunt for these islands so we can go mass reporting. Like we've seen on other areas.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be a bit controversial, but I suppose just the Halloween season in itself could lead to a lot more of these horror islands going. But obviously, I think when the time does come, I don't know if they'll introduce Jack into the game. I mean, I think Jack's more or less guaranteed at this point, but I was wondering, like, what type of items would you like to see added into the game for, Halloween or fall?
So specifically, obviously, pumpkins. I'd like to see kind of a double take on them. So I'd like to see like normal pumpkins added, because I think in general they give quite a good fall sort of vibe. But then I'd like either a crafting mechanism or an additional item to be able to turn a pumpkin into like a jack-o'-lantern. So you can have them like sat outside the villagers' houses. I think that would look quite cool as it comes up to Halloween.
That'd be amazing.
That is amazing. And I would like something like the King Tut mask, where you could put like a pumpkin on your head and stuff like that. Just nice quirky things.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, fall in the game is like super pretty. From what I've seen, it looks super cool, and I think there's so much potential with bringing items and crafting into the game. It could give it such like an atmospheric vibe, if that makes sense. Like, I honestly feel like fall and kind of Halloween has potential to be so awesome on this game. I just really hope it gets done well. Like, I don't want it to be like a museum day event, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was a shame. Like, it was advertised that you could do it every day, and then it just kind of was just like a repeat. You could only do it once in theory, because it was just all the same from there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with just being able to do something once. For example, I think the May Day event, I think there were a few days where you could do that, but I think it was only ever one maze. I think if they did something like that, where maybe you go to another island, or even maybe something again on Harv's Island, like with wedding season, that might be worth some fun.
Yeah, I think that the maze on Maze Day, that was really good. So I'd definitely like to see some more of that as we kind of go through time with this game, because that was, like you say, that was really fun. It added a bit of like variance to the game. It was good. I quite enjoyed the maze on when you got Rover's briefcase at the end. That was quite a good vibe.
It really was. I really enjoyed that.
What I'd really love to be added in, like if we're talking about pumpkins, even though it's straying away from the kind of Halloween aspect, like I think pumpkins is such a great and natural way to bring open the concept of having, you know, like vegetables and things maybe physically growing. Like, if they do the update in September, it could be one of those things where obviously I don't think we're going to see Jack or anything Halloween related in September, but if maybe they give us pumpkin seeds to plant in September, and by October they grow into pumpkins that you can replicate, maybe water with the watering can, that could lead to a more vegetable-based update and maybe even cooking eventually.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's been hinted at, hasn't it, in the data mines? I don't know if you follow the data miners on Twitter, but the vegetable and the farming. I think there's a good handful of code in the game that points to some sort of vegetables and cooking coming in. So I think pumpkins could definitely be an opening to that. But for me, it makes more sense to see that kind of evolve more into kind of spring. But this is what stresses me out about this game, because I'm thinking from a northern hemisphere perspective, and obviously the summer update very much related to summer in the northern hemisphere, but we are going into spring in the southern hemisphere, so maybe they could bring farming in now. Who knows? Who knows what hemisphere Nintendo are playing with?
That's a really good point. The way that we'd kind of talked about maybe seeing a cooking update would be, and I know you mentioned this game already, like the Currydex in Sword and Shield, where you have to kind of find things growing on the island to make different variations.
Yeah, I like that. To be fair, the Currydex is... I mean, I think it got quite a lot of stick, but I quite like the Currydex and the camping aspect of Sword and Shield. I just think it added something a little bit extra to the game, other than just catching and battling. It just added that little bit extra. I liked it.
JB always does. JB did the breeding shiny Pokemon element of the game, and then I completed the Currydex for you, didn't I?
Yeah, that was so much fun, just collecting everything. I enjoyed that a lot, and that's all they need to do for the game. We've already got, fruit, which I do love collecting the fruit, but I kind of feel that unless you want to break stones on a regular basis, and I guess craft the items, there's not much you can do with fruit. But the fact that you could potentially have them as base ingredients already is quite exciting.
Yeah. And I think I've seen on an autumn island that mushrooms grow and things, so that's something else that you could use to collect towards a cooking kind of update.
Yeah, that would be cool. I definitely would like to see cooking, because imagine you could cook and then drop take food round to your villagers that you've cooked for them and stuff. I just think it would
really
be so cool.
Oh yeah, and that could be a great way, cooking curry for your Pokemon boosts friendship points. That could be a way, depending on the quality of cooking that you do, could maybe affect how quickly you get the character portraits.
Yeah, for sure, it'd be so good, because I definitely think that is what this game is lacking the most, is the kind of interactions with the villagers. The dialogue's all very similar, and there's not as many, in previous games they used to come round to your house and stuff like that, and there's quite a few bits like that are missing in this game. So I'd definitely like to see, as we go on with these updates, you said, maybe we can go around with some food, or we can cook together in some sort of mini game, or just something more to kind of encourage you talking and interacting with the villagers.
I think it'd also be good from the aspect of adding further interaction with some of the furniture, because there's a lot of items in the game that we really like, but we just wish we could interact with them more. And and they've just added interaction with the bed more for the Dream Suite. So in terms of stoves and things, it could give that aspect of interaction again.
Yeah, that would be so good, because that stresses me out. Your whole point from is to get this 5-star island and put all this furniture out, and my islanders, they literally sit on the floor. I've put a chair out for him and they sat on the floor next to it. What is that?
Oh god, and there's so much fun that you could have. This is gonna make me sound really, really simple, but I could just imagine controlling my little character to just sit in the teacup ride and just watch them go around. I wish you could do that.
Have you guys played Pocket Camp?
I have briefly.
Yeah, same.
Because I didn't really play it that much, but I've seen screenshots of villagers sat in the hot tub things and stuff like that, and I was I would actually die if I come onto my island and there's like one of my villagers literally in like a sauna or something in my zen area, that would literally make my life.
Yeah.
I know, it'd be so good.
That would be the best.
Because at the minute, all they do is like stand between the two trees. That's the only way to get around your island, and like complain when you push them. Like, go interact with something. Get out of the way a little bit.
Yeah, just do something.
I mean, some of them have like different personalities. Like, we really like how, say, a character like Lily can just pop on glasses of their own volition and go about with a book, but that's about as far as it goes in terms of stuff like that.
See, that'd be really good if you could interact with the furniture and have like the islanders show the personalities. So a lot of people recreate gyms outside the jock's house. It'd be so good if the jock could then come outside and just hop on the treadmill and interact
that would be
with.
So good.
Yeah, like interact with stuff that shows their personality more.
That would be great. And kind of going back to this cooking aspect a bit, I think it's very easy to like get clouded about what we would personally like, and I guess we've all played for quite a while now, but if you think about from the perspective of new players that could just be getting the game, you know, tomorrow or next week, if they added that in, it would be so much more incentive to like get connected to their friends, you know, because not only are they going to a different island for a native fruit for them to fill out that thing in the stamp and have all the fruit and be able to craft all the recipes, all the DIYs, but it's also, you know, to like fill out their kind of food decks. I think would be cool.
Oh gosh, that's how that could work. So for people who've had the game a while now, they'll have nearly every DIY. So you could then collect cooking cards as well that are like recipes that you can like shoot down from balloons that you can find in the bottles on the beach.
And they could almost be like a Foodopedia or something to go into like that little app with all the sea creatures and stuff.
Yeah, that would be so good. And then you could, like, your villagers could have like favourite foods, or like, you know, some islanders might like spicier foods or whatever, and all just starts to link in and kind of build that extra level of depth overall.
See, that would be really, really amazing. But like you were speaking of from the aspect of people that are only just getting the game, like I think I'd be quite overwhelmed if I got the game now. I've really enjoyed having like the little updates to kind of get used to one bit, then like you learn about another thing, as opposed to just getting lots of things thrown at you at once.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as well, like, for a lot of us, we've got to remember that the game dropped the weekend that the UK especially, but I think most places around the world were going into lockdown.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure Nintendo ever anticipated the amount of game hours that would be going into this game.
Yeah, God.
Like, people have played like New Leaf and got like 600 hours overall. Like, people have like over 1,000 hours on this game now. Like, I don't think that was ever anticipated for. So maybe like people have got like burnt out or kind of ready for a new update kind of earlier than they maybe would have done otherwise.
Yeah, I know that I got burnt out a few weeks ago and like stopped playing for like a week or two, but I'm definitely like full on back into it now, ready for like the next update. And I kind of like that about like, for example, like if people don't time travel, you know, like just going back every month to get the new bugs and things to donate to the museum. I think there's enough incentive to like bring people back quite frequently.
Yeah, I absolutely love, like, this is one of the main things that I love about Animal Crossings is like the fact that it runs in real time. I think I was talking about it on Breaking Bells, because I think when I first got Pokemon Gold, that's when they'd introduced the day and night cycle on that, and that ran kind of in real time as well. And I loved it as a kid. It used to get me so psyched for like the next day or whatever. And I think it's that what's kind of then kind of that kind of memory that's kind of then made me like to see the real time in other games like Animal Crossings.
I mean, it is really nice, and like just to see like the seasons and things, and like have the weather almost the same. So in spring it was really quite rainy, whereas now it's sunny all the time, and it just kind of, and especially because people weren't able to go out because of the lockdown, it just felt almost like you did have some kind of escape and some sort of freedom to walk around places. And
yeah, for sure, you could actually go on holiday.
Yeah, going on holiday every day to a different island.
Oh, they were the days, weren't they? Back up before 2020 happened.
No, that's. I mean, yeah, it really has brought a lot, and it's so interesting to think about how different the playing field of the game could be in like an alternate reality where the pandemic never happened. And I personally don't think that we would have ever. Well, I don't think I would have ever been compelled to pick up the game, which is kind of a bit scary considering what a big part of it like has become. Interacts with me every day. But like you mentioned that things were different in other games. Now, what was your first Animal Crossing game like? Which ones have you played?
So I played my first, to be fair, my first proper, or my only proper Animal Crossing game has been Wild World, and I played that for, I don't know, a year and a half, and I really liked that. That was on the Nintendo DS. I had dabbled a little bit on the original one on the GameCube, but yeah, I'd say like Wild World is my like main one, and then I never played New Leaf, but it was always kind of like on my radar, but it just, at the time I was like at university and stuff, so I just wasn't really playing video games much at all. But yeah, it was always kind of on my radar. A lot of my friends played it, so I was so tempted on the lead up to New Horizons, like, cause I was getting super stoked on it. So I was like kind of so tempted, like, shall I get shall I get it, and I should like start playing it to keep me going until New Horizons came out. But I resisted. I held out.
See, we started with New Horizons, and I just absolutely adore it. Like, I've always really liked these creative, like, games where you get to craft things, like The Sims, that sort of thing. And so, for me, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so good.
It is really good. No doubt about it. It's an amazing game. Like, terraforming is completely new to the franchise. Like, that's the first time we've been able to decorate outside of. It used to only be inside your houses that you could decorate. So stuff like that's like really new, and it's really good. I think that's amazing. I just think we're maybe being like a little bit, because we've played it so much, everyone's kind of like, oh well, what if we could have this? But I think if you look at it overall, it is a very, very good game.
It is. It's incredible. So like we've talked about what's new for this game. What's like maybe something that you've seen in another game that you'd like to bring over to this game?
Maybe, like, there's not necessarily. Do you mean from an old Animal Crossing?
Yeah, like an old Animal Crossing game that you'd like to see in this new game that we've not seen yet. Maybe like a character or an event or an item.
Well, there's a few things really. Like, I think I'd definitely like to see Celeste make some sort of transition back into the museum.
Yeah.
So in previous games she had like an observatory and you could like make custom constellations. That was a really cool element that I quite liked. So I'd quite like to see, maybe not all the time, but I'd like to maybe see her every so often popping back, or maybe it was like a monthly event where she comes and talks about the constellations. I don't know, something just kind of a little bit of a nod back to that. But otherwise it's more, I just want to see a bit more from the islanders. I'd like to see a bit more mixture of a bit more dialogue. I'd like to see them come into your house. I'd like to see them inviting you to their house, and just a bit more in the way of kind of that level of depth. I feel like that's maybe been kind of dulled down a little bit for this game for whatever reason. Like they were definitely like ruder back in the day.
See, I really like the first one, what that you said, especially about Celeste. Like, we've done a lot of island tours where people have had like almost a classroom format outside the lecture where blathers could give speeches. It'd be really good if they had a room within the museum where you could have visitors who did like special events, almost like a lecture hall, and you could have Celeste stood at the front once a month to give like a chat about the constellation that's currently like the current sign of the zodiac, or Blathers doing some lecture about bugs, or just like incorporating them in somehow like that.
Yeah, for sure. That would be so good. Like, I just think that gives it that little bit extra. Like for me, I don't know what you guys think about the fireworks show, but for me, like the fireworks show this month has just added like so much kind of depth to the game. And just for the first time in ages, I literally just want to hang out on my island. And I think it would be the same like with the idea they talked about there. I just want to kind of hang out, see what they had to say, and then kind of carry on from there.
Yeah, I do think it's important that they keep like adding to the island visitors, because I do find that they kind of become I feel like because we got the game like more or less as soon as it came out, it got quite repetitive. Like you just had the standard kicks there once a week, and there was never anything that we wanted to buy. And it just seemed like really the same. But now that we've got Red coming more frequently, we've got him here now on Sunday for the firework display. They've introduced Gulliver. I just feel like I'm more excited about the island visitors now.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many more that could still come. Like, I think Brewster needs to come, but he needs to be permanent. He needs to absolutely be permanent. Like, I'd really like him to have his own coffee shop, like the Roost is a standalone building. But even characters like, there's Gracie, who used to have the really expensive furniture from previous games. There's Cap'n, there's Tormentor, there's quite a few, like, NPCs who we've yet to see. So fingers crossed they keep slowly rolling them back in.
I mean, on the topic of non-player characters, we collect the amiibo cards, so from there we've seen like quite a few that we'd like to see within the game incorporated. Like Pelly was one, wasn't the JD?
There's like Shrunk, there's Copper, there's loads that we can't even... Oh, there's that one that you recently found out what it was then. It's like a little monkey, isn't it? What was it called? Porter, yeah.
There's so many, isn't there, from like previous games. Like in the old games, when you were like on the islands, or like, not on the islands, on like going into like a town or something, there was so much more going off in the way of like buildings. So you'd have like the police station or like the post office, and I feel like a lot of those roles have almost been made a little bit redundant now. So I'd like to see them find a new way or a new role for them to kind of come in, because things like you used to go check out lost property, got the lost property box, so you don't really need to go see someone, or you don't need to go to the post office because you've got the postcards in the airport. So a lot of those roles have been made redundant, but I think that takes like a little bit of character away from the game, because you're losing those characters. So I would definitely like to see those characters reintroduced, even if they've got like a different role. I'd definitely like to see them coming back in some sort of capacity.
See, we were speculating that even just to have like Pelly like fly over the island every morning at say like 5 o'clock, just when it flashes over to a new day, just to like be the one that drops the mail in the mailboxes or something like that. It wouldn't be too difficult to still have them as part of the game.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's an awesome idea. Like how cool would it be? And I think it's just little like throwbacks as well. Like we've not forgotten about them. The characters are still there. Like how cool would it be, for example, if Daisy May brought her grandma, because it was always a grandma in the previous games who was selling the turnips, and like, so how cool would it be just to have a throwback, even if it's just one point in the year where she makes a visit to your island?
Yeah.
Just something. Do you know what I would really like? And this will never happen. This is like me just going off on a bit of a tangent now. But I'd like Brewster to make a return and have his own coffee shop, like an independent building. And then in the coffee shop, you would see like your past villagers. They might be popping by for a coffee, or these NPCs that we don't really see and don't really have a role. Things like that. Just like kind of. You go in there and it might be one of your own old islanders who've just popped in for a coffee to say hello, and just have that little kind of throwback.
I would love that. And like the closest thing we get to that at the minute, I guess, is the campsite where people could just show up. But I've been quite disappointed in that. Like no one ever turns up at the campsite.
No.
Yeah, no one turns up, and then like I think as well, like with that as well, it could. I think maybe once you've gone in and had that conversation with them, they should then be walking around your island. For me, it makes no sense that they just stay in a tent all day long.
Or that you should be able to access them through your Nook phone once you've met them in, say, the campsite or the cafe, and then you can just invite them to the island when you want because they're a contact on the phone. Yeah,
that'd be cool. I just think there could definitely be more in the way of kind of interactions done there, for sure.
And I know you said one of the things you said was kind of like about personality when they got rid of some of these characters. I feel like obviously I'd not played any of the games till New Horizons, but I'd heard so many good things about Isabelle that when they just stuck her behind a counter and making like passive comments every day, I was really quite disappointed. But I think the fireworks season's really kind of given them purpose again.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, she was getting dead on my nerves telling me about that same show that she was watching night on night.
I agree.
But yeah, the fireworks shows definitely like brought her out from behind the desk and got her walking around. I think I read something maybe on Twitter, or I think someone maybe talks about it in one of the comments on my YouTube, but it was like saying about giving them a lunch break. So like between 12 and 1, resident services was closed, and there'd be Tom and like Isabelle or the Knucklings would be like walking around the island, and you could have like a conversation with them.
See,
like, you know, about something totally random.
I really missed that. You know, like at the very start of the game, before the little Knucklings had their shop and they were just walking around, just seeing how he was settling in. That was so nice.
Yeah, for sure, with his little flag, wandering around with his little flag.
Yeah. One thing that that'd be so sweet. One thing that we thought about as well, like just when we were like looking how people had designed like the outside of island homes, that it'd be so nice if like some of the characters like Tom Nook or like the Able sisters had their own house on the island, not just the shop, where you could go and see them on the day off.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Like, this would be so cool. There's just so much you could definitely like still do with this game, and I mean, but I think some of it might actually come to fruition at some point in like the future, because they've said they want to like update the game, don't they, for like the next kind of 2 to 3 years. So fingers crossed, some of these like little interactions and stuff we might actually see at some point.
So just to clarify, have we heard when the next update's going to be?
No, unless it's dropped while I've been at work.
No, I don't think it has. I've like not seen notification of it, but I'm just like, I feel like I'm a bit over summer. Like, I feel like spring was gorgeous with those cherry blossom trees, and I just feel like I'm a bit over summer because the only new thing really was that one blue shell. And after seeing some like snippets of autumn, I'm so excited to kind of progress in the game now.
Yeah, for sure. Like fall or autumn is like my favourite time of the year generally anyway, so I'm like so excited for how it looks in the game and seeing some snippets from other people's islands. I am so excited. Like, it's stressing me out that we haven't had the update yet, because I really want to see an update for September. I don't want it to be, because the only thing that worries me a little bit is when it said next update in fall, it had the picture of Jack. So I don't really want it to be us to be waiting till October, because I am, like I said, I'm over it. I'm ready for something fresh.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I feel summer didn't have enough on offer to like keep us occupied, but like we said, they didn't know this pandemic was coming. They didn't know how dependent people were going to be on this game and the hours that were going into it. So maybe if like, you know, a lot of us could have gone to work and that sort of thing, it wouldn't be that we were cramming all these hours in, but just as is, it kind of, I feel like it needed to be more.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I'd just like to see, like, for the summer and stuff, I mean, like, in previous games, there were like all these tropical fruits you could get from this tropical island that you visit. We now live on a tropical island, tropical fruits nowhere to be seen.
I know, like, have a nice pineapple somewhere, or I really like those the balls that you can customise for like watermelons. They're quite cool.
Oh yeah, that's sweet.
Even then, it's just like a customisation thing. It's not that making the most of it being that tropical island.
I mean, they could integrate it quite easily. Like, it could even be something that Leaf could start selling around that time, or at least in a future update. But it wouldn't surprise me, you know, if these NPCs that people are kind of waiting for with the next update, if they're not revamped, like, because I think a lot of the NPCs, if I'm not mistaken, have been like very much a passing on of the generation. Like you say, it was usually Daisy May's, you know, grandmother that would sell the turnips, and I don't know this, but from the looks of CJ and Flick, for example, they very much look related to the Chip Amiibo card or the Nat Amiibo card, and it'd just be interesting to see, like, could we see like a future relation of Brewster coming in to take things over? Like, I don't know, who knows?
Yeah, that is a really good point, because I do think because there was definitely like the bug off and the fishing tourney in previous games, so there was definitely like an NPC that was running that. So CJ and Flick are like new for this one, but obviously Daisy May's new. So I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see like a new character, and that would be cool. I'd just like to see a bit more of a nod, I guess, to the previous ones. So if they are kind of moving on, I'd like to see a bit more dialogue, or like I said, just a random visit every now and again, just something to kind of a bit of a nod to the NPCs that we've kind of missed, just to add to that that story of the game.
Yeah, I really like how I think Daisy May, they incorporated them quite well. And that part of their dialogue is, this is my grandma's business, I'm here to sell turnips for them. And, like, that was a nice nod, but like you were saying, maybe with the fishing tourneys and that sort of thing, it was just really quite removed from what they'd built up before.
I think CJ says stuff like, I learned everything I know I learned from my dad or something, but I don't think they explicitly say their name.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've stopped talking to CJ and Flick, if I'm honest. Unless since the tournaments have been the same prizes, I've kind of given up.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I know. I didn't realise that either. Like when the first fishing tourney in Bug Off was, we went all out to get the trophies and everything. And then when there was a second one, they were like, "Oh yeah, you've already got every trophy. We've already given you every prize," and there was nothing. And I was a bit like, "Oh, that was disappointing."
I mean, I guess they're a decent bell maker if you're short on bells, but at this point I think a lot of us are doing okay with them.
Yeah, I think it only takes one good haul of turnips, and obviously with the online, it's so much easier now to sell your turnips, so it only takes like 1 or 2 good weeks of turnips, and then you're pretty much sorted for the bells. So it is a bit of a shame. It could just be something as simple as it's like a seasonal change in colour or something like that, so for each tournament the prizes are a different colourway to match the season, or it doesn't have to be a massive tweak, it just can be something little that makes it worth doing it again.
Yeah, what would be nice is that like you were saying about the different colours, I think our variant is we get the white anchor statue, and I've been to someone who gets the blue one. Change the variant, just let everybody get everything, as opposed to just having one per island.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, because some of the items can be customised, can't they? Like the fish drying racks, you can customise them to have I think there's 2 different types of fish and an octopus, so you can actually customise them. But I don't know, I just think if you made them exclusive for each tournament, then everybody would want to go at each tournament really good, because they'd want all the different stuff.
Yeah. So we've been talking about characters to incorporate. Of all the updates we've had so far, what's been your favourite addition?
That is a very good question. So what have we had? We've had the Dream Suite, we've had Diving.
We've had Red, there was Leaf, Rover, Pascal.
Yeah, I think probably the biggest one I was super stoked about was when Leaf came along, because I really like Leaf, and I really like the addition of the bushes, so the shrubs. So for me that was really good, because I feel like they add a little bit more to the outside design, and again the seasonal, so you get different ones flowering at different times, so I really like that kind of element. I was super stoked for Diving, but actually in reality I just find it too much effort. You swim so slowly, and I don't actually do diving as much as I thought I would. So I'm a little bit disappointed in myself for that, but that's just me.
No, I feel the same way about that, because whenever I do experience burnout, regardless of that, I still do my daily, so that's logging on to the Switch, checking to see if there's a new KK Slider album and stuff like that, checking to see what's in Nook's Cranny, and one of them should really be go diving until you find Pascal, and then you'll find a new mermaid recipe or something. But without fail, 9 times out of 10, that's just one of the dailies that I just don't do.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what it was, but I can't put my finger on specifically what it is that I don't know, it just doesn't excite me anymore. I think I did it for the first few days, and I was like, nah, I'm over this now.
No, I completely agree with you, because it's kind of if you don't have pocket space, you don't always have that swimming costume with you that you need to have, and then it's an effort to go to the other side of the island and pick one up, or like you said, you swim like really quite slowly. There isn't that many things to collect. Like, I don't know if it's just the seasonal thing, but it just seems really quite repetitive with what you find. And like, if you've got the swimming costume on or something, it limits what you can do if you're just running around the island. And yeah, I guess it just gets quite irritating.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely does get like a bit irritating. And I think like with your I think the biggest thing what was so frustrating is like the whole that you couldn't equip your outfit to a wand or to the tool ring, so it kind of all just sits there, and then you put your wetsuit on but you still got your shoes on and a rucksack on, and it was all like just a bit too much of a faff for me.
Yeah,
a bit fiddly.
Because if you like to do it like as a realistic kind of thing, you'd want to take off the shoes, the bag, whatever you've got in your hair, and it just kind of takes too long. Because every time you remove one item, it like resets to the beginning of the menu, then you need to open it up again, and it's just
and it all takes up pocket space, and then when you catch something, you've got no pocket space left, and yeah, too much of a faff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it would be better if, like you said, maybe for an update you could add the swimming costume as a wand outfit and swap
Yeah,
between.
it's so much easier.
That would be a lot better.
Or even just like, and it wouldn't look as like aesthetically good, but just if you could go into the water with what you were wearing, and then like when you got out, there was a cute little animation where you just shake yourself off, and then you're good to go. Maybe you leave footprints for like the next 10 steps or so.
Yeah, that would work. Anything that would just add. I just think the biggest problem with New Horizons is there's too much process and dialogue for every single thing that you want to try and do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest like frustration for most players.
See, I've spoke to people who say that like they don't sell anything in Nook's Cranny. They always do it through the Dropbox just because there's the quantity of dialogue.
Yeah, I can see that, especially when I'm like building, because I've even started now because I get that fed up of it. Do you know, like you're moving flowers and stuff. I just have a trash can and I literally just dump everything in the trash can because I cannot be bothered with the dialogue of running back. So I just trash it all, done.
Yeah, it's so much easier.
And I guess I'm going back to the whole angle. You know, obviously, all of us here on this, you know, kind of call today in this podcast are based in the UK. Now, because you do YouTube, I was curious to ask you this question. Now, I always find that the one interesting thing that I found is that we started seeing a bit of a spike in views once I started adding the tag British accent and stuff like that. And obviously, a lot of our views come from the US. So I was wondering if you think that having a more like British accent might help with YouTube at all, because I find that a lot of people do like it, and it's kind of something I never considered until starting.
I mean, I'm the same. I get a lot of views from the US, and I've got quite a broad, like quite a thick Yorkshire accent, which I think isn't really, if you're living elsewhere, that isn't really your typical UK accent, if that makes sense. So I think when people think of a UK accent, they're not thinking of my accent. So, like, I'm gonna like shout out to Bobby now. Bobby thought I was Australian. Like,
Oh my god.
so he was like stressing out about the time zones for the Breaking Bells filming because he thought I was in Australia, Holly was in the UK, and obviously he's over in the US. And Holly was like, "No, she's from the UK. She's up north." He's like, "What?" Like,
See, JB thought exactly the same with me. Like, when I first met JB, he was like, "Oh yeah, you're Australian." It's like, no, I'm really not.
Definitely not. But I get that quite a lot. And like, the more time I've spent in America, I do get that quite a lot because I think I don't have the most typical of British accents. But for the most part, like you say, it's pretty positive. People tend to like my accent. I get a few kind of like negative comments every now and again, but they make me laugh more than anything else.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how much it's contributed to like how many views I'm getting or anything like that. I've not really kind of put two and two together, if that makes sense.
Yeah. See, I mean, like, I'm still like hung up on the accent thing that like, because I'm from Yorkshire as well, and we both got like told that we sounded Australian, so I don't know like what it is about Yorkshire that's caused that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but well, it's all good, isn't it? Yorkshire, Australia, yeah, so it's could be
Not
similar.
too far away, right?
No, yeah, that is interesting. Just because I think I don't know. I think a lot of people I've interacted with have been like UK YouTubers, but I think in terms of quantity, you're gonna get more like US based people, and I think that's kind of interesting. The fact that once you sort out the time zones in whatever situation, it is such a connective environment to be in. Like even just sat in like calls with like people in America for like podcasts, it just kind of baffles me what a diverse group of people. I think in terms of Animal Crossing, I would almost argue that the biggest divide seems to be more gender, for example. Like, we've done about 50 island tours at this point, and I believe only 3 of them have identified as, like, male.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting from that aspect.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. But I think Animal Crossing has always had quite a big kind of female following in general. Because like a lot of my viewers, I think my viewers are quite skewed. But I think it's quite an inclusive environment, isn't it now? So I really like the idea that everyone's kind of starting to get involved in the game, and there'll always be one demographic that's more popular. But overall, I like to think the Animal Crossing community is quite inclusive.
Yeah, I'd say it was.
Yeah, it's definitely somewhere where it's very easy to, kind of feel welcome. Obviously, you've got, like, a few people that try and be a bit more hostile, but on the most part, there's been nothing but positivity from our end. Like, it's been so great. Like, even just speaking to people, we've met mostly nice people, and it's been really nice.
Yeah, I think I've really, like I said, for the most part, pretty much everyone I've spoke to has been really nice. You get a few bad egg comments every now and again, but for the most part, like, the community is so good. Like, I've connected with so many people, and I actually cannot believe how many friends I've actually made through playing this game during the pandemic, and by meeting people through YouTube and content creation. I literally cannot believe it. Like, I talk to some people like daily now who I've like either created videos with or just comment on their videos. Like we're talking daily, and it's just so nice to see that friendship develop from something like Animal Crossings.
Yeah, like it's so. I mean, not just with like creators. We try and keep in contact with almost like we try and make the same effort with everyone that has let us give them like everyone that we've toured. Basically, we try and add them on Switch. We try and send them things on a daily basis, and from there we've built up more of like a community in terms of just players, if anything. Like, I don't think we know too many other people doing YouTube. That's why it's so, interesting to sit down with, say, yourself and just talk about what it is. Because one thing that really strikes me is how different everyone's story is, but also the things where it's so similar. Like, I think in terms of what we are achieving, I guess it couldn't be more different in terms of the same game, like speed builds, I'd say, are quite different to island tours in terms of audience. But I feel that there's always going to be one thing that people gravitate to, and I think it's really cool to just see how people express themselves in the same game.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just crazy, isn't it? Like, people, I think this game, even like, I would never describe myself as like a creative person, but this game, like, I'm surprised that I've taken to the speed build aspect of it, because I very much thought like I'd be more about kind of showcasing how creative other people are. But now for some reason this game's like really brought it out, and I'm like big into the design elements, and I feel like I'm getting way more creative just through playing the game. And everyone, like, we're all on the same island, we've all got the same like 5 buildings, but how many like different, for example, museum entrances have you seen? And they're all so different, just like next level.
I mean, I'd say I really respect you for doing the terraforming and things, because, like, I personally don't feel that I'd be confident enough to do, like, a speed build video, because I feel like I'd knock something down and then accidentally rebuild it 10 times before I even get on to knocking the next piece of, like, land down.
Yeah, like they're definitely not the easiest. And I remember like the first couple, because I don't know about you guys, but I found like this whole like content creating and daily uploads and all the rest of it to be one massive like learning curve. So I look back at my original speed builds and they are pretty like they're not great. Like like now my speed builds are much more thought out, and I've kind of learned the process a little bit more, and I've kind of, before I even start it, I'm kind of thinking, right, how do I develop this into a video? So I'm thinking about the whole kind of process. But yeah, I think it's very much like trial and error. I've definitely like planned an area and then not uploaded the video because I couldn't execute it and had to restart again.
What's your kind of end goal with, well, not end goal, but what's your kind of moment where you think, yes, I've made it in terms of YouTube? Like, do you have like a subscriber count in mind, or a collaboration, or a video at all?
For me, like, I set out, and I don't mean this kind of like disrespectfully to any YouTubers or anything like that, but for me, I very much see an established channel as like 1K subs. Like, I don't know why, but for me, I really want to hit that 1K subs, and I feel like when I hit 1K, I'll like see my channel as like more established, if that makes sense. Like, it's got a solid base then to kind of go from. So that's kind of, for me, that's my goal, is to get to 1K. If I get to 1K, I'll feel like, yeah, right, good. This channel is like, everyone's here for the long game. Like, let's keep going with it. Let's keep building with it. It's, people want to see this. And so that's for me my biggest goal is 1K. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about that number. Maybe it's just a round number.
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely well on the way to doing that. Like, you're doing really well.
Yeah. We're slowly getting there. But in terms of like, I mean, I definitely started YouTube for me. So I never thought I'd even get close to hitting that. But for me, the biggest, I say my biggest achievement to date was like when I started to like collab with other YouTubers. Like, 'cause I never thought. Again, I think it's more like kind of me, because I didn't think I was established enough, because I haven't hit that imaginary target in my head. I don't think anybody would want to touch my channel, and to be like working and creating and collabing with like you guys, Console KO, Holly, Bobby, like for us all to be kind of like talking and getting involved in like the support from other creators, is like, that's like when I thought, actually, hold on a minute, maybe it's not about the numbers, actually, like, you know what I mean? That's when I really started to like just kind of settle into it a little bit more, and I definitely stopped like watching the numbers tick over day by day.
I think it's very much like about the people that you meet along the way. Like we said, the last podcast with Bobby turned out, such a nice person. Obviously this one with you has been so lovely. It's been so nice to talk to you about all these things. And like, I remember the moment when JB turned around to me and was like, oh my gosh, we've done it. And that was when somebody commented on one of our island tours, asking us to come and do a tour of their island. And JB was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yes, that is so cool. Like, when people literally reach out and say, do you want to, come to my island? This is so cool, isn't it? Because like, that person's like chosen you guys, and I think it's just awesome. I just think it's so good.
It was kind of like the first time that we knew that like somebody who was following us wasn't just somebody who we'd been like pursuing on like Twitter to try and like tour their island, or like it wasn't just one of our family members being polite, like subscribing to us. It was like the first time, like, it was like the first time, like, yes, this is a real person.
Someone is actually watching us for Animal Crossings. It does blow my mind on the daily, though. Like, on a daily basis, like, it blows my mind to think that I am literally uploading videos of me playing Animal Crossings and people are enjoying it. Like, it blows my mind. I just love it. I just love like creating content that people enjoy. Like, to think that someone's literally like, got off work or whatever, and they've had a stressful day and they're literally going to put my video on that's going to like cheer them up or make them smile or whatever. I just think that's amazing. Like, I just think it's next level, innit?
I mean, it is amazing. And like, I must admit, before Animal Crossing, I'd never sit and watch YouTube, like game videos or anything. But like now when we sit and eat our dinner at night, we'll just be like, oh, let's put an Animal Crossing video on YouTube. Like, we watch it so much.
Yeah, they are. It gets addictive, doesn't it? Like, I've got because I used to watch a lot of videos, and I got really into watching like streams.
Yeah.
And I just like love that kind of that connection with like the community and the creator. And I think it's like so much fun, like getting involved in people's streams and just actually like hyping people up as well, because no matter how big or small like a content creator is, they've still got goals that they're trying to achieve. And like I love like being able to drop into people's streams and just like hyping them up, or you know, something just to kind of think, you know, I'm supporting you. Like I want to help people reach their goals as well, because I know how hard it is to reach your own goals, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and like that's just another example of what a lovely community Animal Crossing does have. And like I know on our last podcast we touched upon like that there'd been some negativity within like the Animal Crossing community, and I think the reason it stood out so much is just because there are so many people like yourself who like just go onto streams and make everyone feel so happy within themselves and about who they are and how they're creating things, that like just the smallest bit of negativity just seemed to be like a huge shock, because it's just not something that Animal Crossing, you know, you'd associate with that.
Yeah, like the whole game's like pretty wholesome, isn't it? So like you say, you just don't associate with it. And I just like, yeah, I mean, it got pretty toxic, isn't it? But like, I think kind of off the back of that, you kind of definitely kind of realised in the community where like the good eggs are and where like the positive energy is, and maybe where it's not so positive or it's a bit more bad egg vibes. So like I think it just, you know, we all know where not to go and where to go to support each other now, and I think it's all good. We'll keep on being positive and we'll keep winning.
And it was definitely overwhelming, like just to see the ratio of how much more positivity there is than that kind of one outlying negativity.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And it's just like one bad egg, and it's just like it kind of felt really overwhelming. It felt like, whoa, there's a lot of stuff here, but when you actually like you broke it down, it was just literally like one incident, really.
Yeah.
And actually now that's kind of blown over. We're back to being on positive vibes only.
Completely, yeah.
Like, I think now that it has blown over, it's very good in terms of that positivity that everyone's creating. So, I think in regards to all that, I think at this point it should just be our responsibility to like just keep reaching out to people. One thing that I haven't really done yet, which I'm kind of not ashamed about, but I wish that I did it more. For example, I really do appreciate it when, like, say, a bigger creator such as yourself or the Nintendo Guru just kind of notice us and talk to us and interact with us. But I've never tried to, like, find someone, say, that I've just started an Animal Crossing channel yesterday. Now, like, how did you first see one of our videos? Like, was it on Twitter or was it just on search? Like, how do you go about doing that?
I think honestly, like, I made a point of going on like YouTube, and you know when you can like filter the searches? So like try and filter the searches, and I try and go like as niche as possible. So I usually try and like see who's uploaded within the last hour and things like that, just because what I wanted to try and do is, I remember when I first started putting videos out, I'd be like refreshing YouTube Studio, and like no one would have watched my video, or like my boyfriends like clicked on it, like literally you're getting like no views, and it like feels a little bit disheartening. And I thought if I can just find someone who's uploaded their video in kind of the last hour and just drop a like, drop a comment, just something to like make sure that person like knows that someone's watching. And you know, sometimes it's like bigger creators, and in reality they didn't really need it, but you know, every so often I'd like stumble on like smaller channels or channels a similar size to me, and I think it was just nice to kind of get involved. And then there were like other creators that would comment on my videos, so then I'd make sure that I'd go back and comment on theirs, and then see who else they're subscribed to, and just try and find as many kind of similar sized or smaller or bigger, just as many kind of niche channels as I can, because I think if you search Animal Crossings and just leave it at that, you know, you get the big like 100k plus like channels that seem to show up quite a lot. And although that's good and they're creating great content as well, it definitely kind of like masks those smaller creators. And it took me a while like to kind of work through finding everybody. Like I actually found like Bobby and Holly one episode where they did like done a pod for like like Nook Talks, and they were both on it, and that's where I found those two from. And then I found their channels, and then I found Breaking Bells. So it's just like a slow process of like weeding through everything to try and find like smaller creators. But I think there's some really, really, really good content out there that just gets missed because obviously YouTube's just so big and Animal Crossing is so popular.
I definitely think that that's something that I would like to start doing a bit more consciously, you know, just trying to find new people and kind of build them up a bit, like the best we can really. Because like I said, it is very good to do that. And I think another thing is that there's so many people that are just going about, you know, kind of not wanting to associate with people with like a smaller subscriber count, that it seems very intimidating. Like we've reached out to quite a few say bigger creators, I guess, such as yourself and everything like that, who have been really, really nice. We've never really been outright ignored. But I guess if I was just starting out today, and everyone starts with 0 subscribers, I wouldn't know how to replicate anything like what growth would be like. I wouldn't know how to start out or anything. Like, even though we didn't start that long ago, I just think it does like help just to reach out to people first. Yeah, definitely. And I think like just sometimes it's just worth a sense check as well, because I think like when you start out, so I've started out, I've been going 4 months, and I am like desperate to get to 1k subs. I don't know why, it's a round number, in my head it sounds good. That's where I'm desperate to get to. But in reality, when you talk to other YouTubers, because you look at someone and think, oh yeah, they've got 10k subs, oh yeah, but you don't know how long they've been doing that channel. Unless you have a conversation, you know, you don't know how long it's taken them to get to that point, or the graft and the grind that they've had to put in. And you know, like you said, everybody starts at 0. So I think it is quite, because I think YouTube can feel like a bit of a grind and a bit of like a lonely journey at times. But I think when you connect and chat with other YouTubers, it kind of sense checks you and actually realise that you are doing really good, and you know you're still growing, and it's all just like it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think that's like a really kind of important thing. And I find like chatting to bigger creators, and they tell me how long it took them to get to like 1k subs or you know whatever, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm not doing bad, because you know you can see a few small channels absolutely blow up, and you're like, well, why is that not my channel? But in reality, that's the minority rather than the majority. Yeah, like everyone's kind of got their own pace of growing. Like, you know, like for example, Nintendo Guru was working really, really hard consistently for years, and then when Animal Crossing came out, because he was already so talented and friendly, his personality really meshed with that game, and so he saw a massive, massive growth in his channel. And you're growing incredibly quickly. In terms of, I think you're going quite quickly, because I think you had 400 subscribers like not 2 weeks ago, and now I believe you're sat at like 570 or thereabouts. So I think you're growing really quickly. But then of course on the other end of the spectrum, like there's obviously like, I think we started out watching Chase Crossing, and I think they've got like a similar time frame to us, maybe a bit longer, and they've kind of blown up to a huge extent. So regardless of what is kind of going on, everyone's got their own trajectory. Yeah, definitely got their own trajectory, and I think like it's important, isn't it, to like just kind of be happy that you're still like, as long as you're going in the right direction, like you're growing, or people, you know, you're getting more subs, you're getting more views, people are connecting and commenting and stuff like that. It's all positive, and you know it can take just one video for your channel to absolutely blow up. And unless you post, it's never, you know what I mean, you're never going to get that video unless you keep posting. So, like you said, everyone's on different time frames, and just like not to try and get too kind of frustrated or disappointed. And like, I don't know, I find connecting with other people and working and creating content with other people, that's definitely like given me a really good boost with subs. Like I had like
something like 100 subs in a week, but that was the week that I was on Breaking Bells, which was like next level growth.
That's
Yeah,
impressive.
like, it is so cool. Like, and I think that's part of the reason why I personally gravitated towards island tours instead of, say, speed builds or tutorials, because I think the happiest moments that I kind of get doing YouTube is just knowing that you've made someone's day, even if it's one person, two people, just knowing you've made someone's day. Like, a moment that really stands out to me is the first time that Millie and I went to this amazing Harry Potter island tour, and we did that. It was amazing. We loved it because it's a franchise that means so much to us, even in terms of relationships. It's like the first series of films we watched together, and we got a message from the creator saying, you know, thanks so much for this. I got home from work and just sat down with the kids, and we all just like watched it like on the TV, and we loved it. And just knowing that, like, even if it's a group of people or one person, just knowing that you've made a difference to someone is just so helpful. And I guess you could call that a kind of selfish. It's just, I don't know, I just couldn't imagine starting out doing something where I just feel like no one would watch, and it just feels like making videos to a brick wall.
Yeah, like, that's it, isn't it? But like you say, it only takes one comment. Like one positive comment, and like you just can just like, you're just like, yes, someone has watched this, someone has enjoyed it, and it's just like, no, it just makes you smile, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't think I'm in personally. I mean, I think Millie knows a lot more about this than me because she's really good with like doing stuff on Twitter. But I don't think I'm in a position to give out YouTube advice. But if someone were to be desperate to get something from me, like, you know, what's your one advice? Like, how do you do YouTube? And it's just, okay, well, it's one subscriber at a time. It's one video at a time. And I think that's all that's important, because as long as you're enjoying it, I think everything is well, you know, things will happen.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think, like you said, it's one person at a time, one like, one comment, one watch, one sub. And I think, if you're doing what you enjoy doing, and you're creating content because you enjoy creating content, then that will come across in the video. And that's like a big thing for me, is I really try and get my personality across in my videos, because I want people to come and get involved because of my personality, and they enjoy it, it makes them smile or whatever. And I think, like, you know, it's just that consistency and just trying to, like, that positivity and that energy into your content because you enjoy it, which, you know, if you're enjoying it, that should be easy to do. And I think that definitely will help people. Like, you shouldn't want to make YouTube videos because they want to be a YouTuber. Like, that will be really, I think, difficult to maintain in the long term.
Like, are you ever worried, you know, to try something different? Because I'm not too worried in terms of stuff. It's just one thing that does scare me or dishearten me a bit is that you can come up with like a concept or a side project and work really, really hard on it, and then release it, and it gets not that much traction. And then when you do something that you're known for, like, I guess for us, we like found a lot of growth doing island tours, and it's, you put out an island tour and you're instantly guaranteed twice the kind of views. Like, are you scared that when, you know, either Animal Crossing dies out, in terms of this game at least, or just if you found a new game that you were in love with tomorrow, you didn't feel like you could put out that video because there'd be backlash, like, oh, why aren't you doing this? This is like an Animal Crossing channel.
Well, I have thought about that a lot, because, like, it is very easy on YouTube to kind of like pigeonhole yourself. But I did a few Pokemon videos and they did like alright. I did like, I try and do a lot of channel updates, so I try and like bring people along or bring my viewers along with whatever is going on. So that's why I did the channel update in terms of like the new computer the other day, because I wanted to like bring people along on this journey with me. So it's more about, my channel is more about kind of me and my personality. And right now I'm playing Animal Crossings, and obviously I've got like loads of growth for Animal Crossings, and I love Animal Crossings, but I'd like to hope that I've connected with people. And, you know, not all those people, let's be realistic, but hopefully some of those people would enjoy it if I started playing similar genre games, some more Pokemon, you know, maybe some Stardew, maybe some Sims, whatever seems to come out, like, you know, that I would enjoy, because it's going to be that same sort of positive vibes, that same sort of community feel. And that, for me, is what I am really trying hard to do, is create like a positive, inclusive, friendly kind of channel and environment where everyone can kind of connect, and we all just kind of get stoked on playing really cool games. And, you know, there's always going to be people who've come just for one particular piece of content, so, you know, you always want to try and, I mean, I would never go, for example, into something totally different and start doing travel vlogs, because that would just be, you know, be totally like way off the mark. But I'd like to think that I could continue to kind of expand and mix it up with different games, and hopefully a lot of the people who enjoy Animal Crossings will enjoy some of those games as well. So like slowly the channel kind of evolves and diversifies rather than goes on a completely different tangent, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it depends though, because I think it's important to have like nice subscribers that follow what you're doing, whereas views are kind of, I think, maybe secondary to that, because our most successful video at the moment, I think it has around 2,000 views, but it was where we try and make the origami Goomba from Mario, like Paper Mario the Origami King, and that's, I think, by far our most successful video, but I don't think we gained any subscribers from that, whereas from Island Tours, I think we gained at least 2 per video, which I think is quite good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I feel like it's good, and I think sometimes I think though, like, are those guys subbing? Because for me, like, when I subscribed to you, I wasn't necessarily subscribing because you did Island Tours. I was subscribing because I liked the way that you went about an island tour. I liked the way that you explained it. I liked the way that the two of you were involved, and I kind of liked the way that you approached an island tour. So for me, I would probably still watch your channel if you maybe progressed into a slightly different franchise, but was still, you know, still had that same vibe, and you had that really unique kind of way of approaching it. I would still watch. I'd still kind of support your channel. So for me, I kind of try and look at it at that aspect, like kind of the running theme is with me and how I approach things, rather than it solely being one game. And then I hope that, you know, in the long term, it'll be more sustainable as a channel and like a strong base to kind of build on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for that, because it is surprising, because I obviously I've always wanted to do a podcast. Like, I started off listening to the Pokémon podcast years and years and years ago. Like, I love those guys, and ever since listening to them, I've wanted to host a podcast. But I think a lot of the reason that motivated me to kind of fast track the project, you know, and really make it like a passion piece, is just so, for all it is, integrated into Animal Crossing. So a lot of people that subscribe to us will be going, oh look, you know, they're back, you know, they're doing Animal Crossing again, another Animal Crossing video. It's a platform where, if you look at the visual for all these podcasts, it could just be listened to purely through audio. But if using Animal Crossing in a fun setting is a medium to get to know more about me as a personality and Millie as a personality, and how we can interact with really interesting guests like yourself, I think that was one of the main motivators to starting a podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's like, yeah, it's a really cool idea, because obviously you get to know more about yourselves, and you get to know more about kind of your guests that are on, and I absolutely love this format. Like, this is a second podcast I've done now, and I absolutely love just sat here, kind of real down to earth, kind of just being real with people and having that kind of chat at the most basic level, and just, you know, we start off with the passion that is Animal Crossings, that brings the whole community together, but then we slowly start to go off on other tangents, whether that's YouTube or our background in gaming and things like that. And I think it is just so nice to kind of, for people to see that these natural conversations and kind of see a bit more of the whole kind of background of the creators, and just, you know, just get that kind of more personal vibe, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess from that, my question to you would be, if you weren't an Animal Crossing or I guess gaming YouTuber, like, what other things would you be interested in? Because I've always said, if I wasn't doing gaming, I'd try and branch off into booktube, but, like, what's your kind of equivalent to that?
So I'd probably have a mixture if I'm honest. So I'm big into travelling. I do a lot of travelling through work anyway. So I'm always off on a different adventure somewhere. So if I'll be honest, I like the idea of like travel vlogging and like kind of bringing people along on my travels and my adventures. In reality, when I've tried to do it, I actually enjoy spending the time doing it rather than spending the time trying to film, edit, and always thinking about the kind of the end content. I don't have that creative mindset. But the other thing I quite like to do is I just like kind of bringing people along. So kind of my background from university is in geology and paleontology. So I'd quite like to do a bit more of a, I guess, informational piece around kind of like fossil hunting and helping people kind of identify and helping people get started in fossils, and trying to build like getting kids and stuff into kind of that area of like dinosaurs and fossils. And I don't know, maybe one day in the future I'll start a channel talking about all things dinosaurs and fossils, because I do like trying to get kids involved in science and education, and looking kind of long term at how they can enjoy the outdoors.
I mean, that just sounds really interesting. If you started that as a second channel, we'd definitely subscribe to that.
Yeah, that is awesome.
That's cool. I might get out this weekend and go find some fossils, eh?
No, that is great. I mean, there is always that kind of line though, like, when is something appropriate to put on a second channel, or when do you just kind of integrate it? And I'm just thinking, like, the one obstacle that we've both not, that Millie and I both haven't faced yet, is that whole concept of a face reveal, just because I don't think I would personally be comfortable in that setting at all. But I think once that happens, I'd just get so many different ideas of what to do that, like, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. Like, if I got confident enough to do that, I'd want to try and vlog or do other types of videos, and I just wouldn't be sure how to handle that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think for me as well, because I've been thinking about all sorts in terms of like this channel and how to kind of progress and like streaming and what platforms to stream and all the rest of it. So for me, like, I'm the same, because I think, right, what do people, if this channel is about me playing games, what else do people want to see? But I think, like, if it ever got to a point where this channel, in my head, inverted commas, becomes established, if I get to the level that I think, yeah, this has got a really good base now. I've seen a lot of gaming YouTubers kind of have secondary channels that they do like more vlog content on, or unboxing videos or silly videos or whatever it is that their secondary interest is. I've seen a lot of like successful gaming YouTubers then start a secondary channel for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a good format, like, I don't know if this is like the best like kind of example, but because like I haven't watched those types of content for a while, the best example I can think of at the moment is just how like Tabuscas did it way back in the day. There was like a gaming, a vlogging, and then just general, like, but then again, I wouldn't want anything to take away from it, like, I wouldn't want to get it confused or water down one channel in favour of another one, so it is very tricky to kind of think about it at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you on that. I think it's tricky, and I think it's doing it at the right point and at the right time. Like, for me, at the minute, I don't feel it's the right time for me to kind of diversify platforms or diversify channels. I kind of want to put all my energy and all my positivity into really building like a strong base over on Poké Crossings. And then, there is always potential in the future for other stuff to develop, but for me right now, I want to get like a really strong grounding rather than trying to kind of split my efforts into too many different things and do too many different things like averagely, rather than doing one thing really good.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that makes sense, because I don't think we're at the right stage to diversify. Like, obviously, in terms of Animal Crossing, we will mix stuff onto the channel and just have it maybe do an unboxing or like a build. Basically, my kind of general rule with the channel is, I guess, as long as it's Nintendo or, you know, related to something we've done, then it's fine. But one thing I'd love to do is just branch off into movie reviews and TV show discussions, but again, it's just very difficult to know when to branch off to that.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to get the timing right. But I'm with you on that. Like, I think what you've mentioned kind of fits your channel vibe pretty good. And I'm the same. Like, anything kind of gaming, kind of Nintendo news, anything sort of like that related can kind of stick about on my channel. And then I'm going to try and hold off the other stuff until one, I have time to do it, and two, I feel like it's the right time to kind of look for kind of building another platform or another channel or whatever. But for now, I'm enjoying the ride of YouTube over on Poké Crossings.
Yeah, like your channel is really, really good. Like, I'd quite often go back to some of like the older tours that you've done and catch up with the newer ones. Like I said before, the Moon one I think was, no pun intended, out of this world. Like, it was so good just to see how different someone would make their island, and I've never seen anything like it, so it was great. But like, before you started YouTube, like, do you have any like creators that you'd like to, you know, cite as inspirations at all?
I used to watch, is it HDV for like Pokemon content? I used to watch his shiny hunts quite a lot.
Oh yes,
which was quite good.
Yes, I think I'm familiar with them actually. They like do streams and videos about that Masuda method stuff. And
he's from the UK too. He's from up in, I think, Nottingham kind of way.
Oh,
so
nice.
he's a UK YouTuber too, so it's quite like, I don't know, I kind of vibed with him quite good, and all his streams sort of like were at a suitable kind of time when I was kind of available, if that makes sense. So yeah, I kind of got quite into him, so I really liked his stuff, and that was kind of like the main kind of gaming channel that I used to watch really, in terms of like for Pokemon. And then I've watched tons of kind of like travel vloggers and stuff like that, trying to get inspiration for when I've been going away and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's just, there's such a variety on YouTube now. It's hard to kind of like pin down, it used to be hard to pin down my favourites. Now I'm kind of in YouTube, like I'm doing YouTube every day. I found it kind of easier to kind of narrow down my circle a little bit, and I've got like the same kind of handful of creators that I'll like check in with and see what they've uploaded recently and things like that.
Yeah, no, we're very much the same way in that regard. Now, I guess it's about that time when we should be wrapping things up a bit. Now, are there any other topics that you'd like to touch on at all before we kind of end this?
No, I think we've covered quite a good variety today.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's been such like a cool conversation, just getting to know you a bit more and to be discussing Animal Crossing. Because actually, surprisingly enough, I think this is one of like the episodes where we've spoken about Animal Crossing the most. So it's kind of just good to get in touch, you know, touch base with another creator about, you know, the future of the game that we've all like, you know, been united on. So that's been great.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, guys. It's been a super like cool, like, it's, you know, the conversations flowed quite good as well. I've like just really enjoyed kind of chatting with you guys and getting to know your background on YouTube, and obviously talk Animal Crossings, because we all love Animal Crossings.
Yeah, it's so good. Like, I think we owe so much to the game at this point. But in terms of our like viewers now, like listening to this, where can they find you on the internet? So
if they head over to YouTube and search Poké Crossings, and I'll come up on there. I'm also over on Twitter, cranking_. You'll find me, it's fine. So if you head over to YouTube, you'll find all my links. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm obviously on YouTube. But yeah, come over, get in touch, reach out to me, let me know what you think. I'm always down for a good chat, whether it's Animal Crossings or otherwise.
So yeah, thank you so much for being on. Like I said, this has been amazing.
No worries. Thank you for having me. I was like super stoked when you guys reached out and was like, "Hey, we're doing this podcast," and I was watching it at the same time that you actually like. I think I was watching it, and then like the same day, you guys was like, well, I was talking to you guys on Twitter, and I was just like, "Yes, this is next level. We have to make this happen because it's gonna be so good."
Thank you, that's amazing. Now, for everyone watching this, thank you so much for sticking to the end of the video. This has been another episode of the 5-Star Talk podcast with JB, Millie, and of course, Poké Crossing. We try and do these every Sunday, so please do subscribe for that, and also for various other videos like our Lego Mario series and the 5-Star Island tours. So like, comment, and subscribe to JB and Millie and Poké Crossing.